You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers about hikers for everybody.
This is the Hammock Hangers Podcast, where we hang out and talk about everything from hammocks and hammock camping to the group hangs from around the country. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hammock Hangers Podcast. I am your host, Paul Collins, or also known as Skunkape, and I am here with my co-host, AJ Glenn, or Pheonix. What's up, AJ?
Hey, y'all. How you doing?
All right. This episode here, AJ's going to do a good bit of the talking. He's going to go over trip plannings, especially when you're wanting to use your hammock. As y'all remember in one of the, actually it was the very first episode that we had was with AJ, and he was talking about his family vacation that he went on last year and everything. And I think he talked a little bit about planning and everything else. I'm sure he'll talk about a little more on this also. But I think he's going to do the trip again this year. So he's already had to start planning for that. And so he just wanted to go over it just in case anybody else out there was wondering what all was involved in planning a trip like that to where you want to use your hammock for most of the trip.
Yeah, so I kind of got the idea for during this episode because I had a lot of people that I knew and a lot of people that I didn't know really follow our trip that we took this past summer. And just so our listeners know, both me and my wife, we're both teachers. We both teach elementary grade level, and we are really blessed with the fact that we both have the summers just to kind of go and do trips and things like that. And both of us really like to travel. Both of us really like to camp. We like to camp in very different ways, but we both love camping. And camping has really allotted us to be able to make these trips on a two-teacher budget to see a lot of the things. So, for example, last summer we were gone for, I want to say like 35 or 37 days out west. It was a very long trip. By the end of the trip, I was saying, I love my family. I love my family. I love my family a lot. Just to keep me from murdering them all. And I'm sure they felt the same way about me.
I was fixing to say, I'm sure they had the same thoughts running through their head.
Absolutely.
I've met your wife.
So we ended up doing the trip. We started in Florida, obviously, and we went out to Colorado and did Colorado Springs, Garden of the Gods. We went out to Twin Lakes area, Colorado, where my wife was supposed to do Mount Elbert. She was looking to do her first 14er, but unfortunately a hike that she did in Colorado Springs kind of threw her back out, and it just made the day that she was supposed to do the hike, she did not sleep the night before because she was in so much pain in her back. And
Gotcha.
While we were having breakfast that morning, she actually passed out because of
Really?
the amount of pain that she was in. Yeah,
Oh,
it was
wow.
scary. So unfortunately, she did not make that hike, which has kind of inspired the trip that we're doing this year. But from Twin Lakes, we went to Rocky Mountain National Park, which is one of my favorite places. And we also went to Grand Teton, Yellowstone, and Glacier, then came back out through Custer State Park and the Badlands and Mount Rushmore and Roosevelt State Park or State Forest, somewhere along those Black Hills area, and came back through Kansas City and St. Louis. That's the one that I was looking for. And then back down south through Nashville and then back to Florida. The summer before that, we actually did a 27-day trip where we went up to Jamestown, Williamsburg, Yorktown area, Virginia, up to Pennsylvania. We did Hershey, Gettysburg, and then eventually made our way up to Upper New York, where we were at Niagara Falls. We went down to the Finger Lakes region, and then back down through Shenandoah National Park and along those areas. So we usually do big summer trips the summer because we have the opportunity. And to be completely honest, I don't want to be in Florida in the summer.
I don't blame you. So who normally does most of the planning though with these trips? Do you do the planning, or does Dawn do the planning?
As unorganized and as unorthodox as I am, most people just assume that my wife does a lot of the planning, but and I know my wife won't listen to this, so I'll just say it out. I actually do most of the reservations. I actually go out and look to kind of nail down the spots that we want to do just based on availability. And I'm usually the one, if we have to make a phone call or a reservation for anything in our relationship, I'm the one doing it. So
I think I remember her and I talking about that, because Deanna is the one that does most of the call. I hate talking to people on phones.
Oh, I hate talking to people on the phone, but not to the level of my wife.
Yeah, no, I totally despise it. I mean, I think we're probably doing good with me talking to you through the mic.
I mean, there's fine.
That's
like sometimes you call me and I'm just like, why don't you just text me? I don't want to talk to people. Yeah.
So hopefully your wife does the navigating though, because I've seen your navigating skills.
Yeah, my wife does a lot of that. Well, also,
okay, that's good.
I make sure that we share the driving. I'm not that stereotypical. Oh, the husband is going to drive. No, I'm more than happy to hand the wheels off to my truck so I can time travel while she's.
Yeah, see, I do all the driving. I mean, if I was in the passenger seat, I would not be able to sleep anyhow.
Oh man, happy trails, just go.
I enjoy the driving though. So
I mean, I enjoy driving too, but after 27 hours of it, you're just like, all right, well, this has gotten old. But anyway, so I want to talk about some of the tips and tricks, some of the things that we, take in consideration when we're making these big, long trips. And I just want to encourage people that it may seem daunting, it may seem a lot, but it's really not. It's just a matter of making reservations.
Now, how far out do you start planning?
All right,
and making these reservations and all that, because I know you were saying whenever you got back last year. So I mean, we talked about a lot of this in episode 1. So if anybody wants to go back and listen to that and hear about your trip last summer's, they can do that. But I know that you said once you got back and you and I was talking that a lot of the places were booked up early, and I guess a lot of that might have had to do with COVID. So I mean, does it seem like it's going to be the same way this year?
Yes, but I think with COVID there was a lot of camping boom, and also the cost. We love to stay in national parks, even the ones that don't have electricity or things like that. We don't mind doing those because the campsites are the prettiest. And they're usually the cheapest. However, they book up fast. And when I say they book up fast, they book out like a year in advance.
Gotcha.
And we were a little bit lucky. We've already got our sites available out there. But really, if you're looking at staying at a state park or a national park, if you're booking 6 months ahead of time, you're already too late most of the time. That's just not always the case, but that's the case for most of the thing.
I'm sure it depends on the park too.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for something big like Rocky Mountain National Park, you're looking at easy. Now, out west, a lot of the parks do a 6-month window, so the sites actually don't even open up for reservations till a particular day.
Gotcha.
So if you're looking for some of those parks, do your research. Find those sites, and really, if you're stuck on saying, hey, I definitely want to be at Grand Teton, or I definitely want to be at Glacier National Park, and shameless plug for that, if you've not been to Glacier National Park, hands down, the prettiest place that I've been to on planet Earth. But that's just me.
Okay.
But yeah, you definitely want to book those as early as humanly possible. As for if you go out and you can't find something like that, now I will preface this by saying when we go out west, we have our pop-up. So it's not just me backpacking. If you backpack, that opens up a slew of other things. Or if you don't mind dispersed camping, there's plenty of spots there. If you don't mind staying on public lands, there's plenty of stuff like that out there. I would love to do a trip like that, but that's not something that I guess our family is comfortable with. We need some facilities. You know, we got 2 kids.
Sure.
They're not young kids, but you know.
Well, your wife is more the camper camping.
Yeah, my wife, she does do, you know, some of the backpacking stuff, but she doesn't do like the overnight. She's more of a hiker, a day hiker.
Right.
But she loves to camp. She enjoys the pop-up. She loves like the bed and stuff like that. Right. So we're not ritzing it out in like a fifth wheel that's, you know, 82 foot long or anything.
Right.
We've got a 20-foot pop-up and we absolutely love it.
Now you do, I mean, I know you take your cricket stands and all that stuff. And I'm sure this year, if you get it in time, you're going to be taking the Hive with you.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to get in on the super early bird for the Hive. And so I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I do everything in a hammock just because I have the ability, and I stay a lot cooler or a lot warmer depending on what I'm looking for. So, but again, with doing it with a hammocks, it does offer some challenges. So my first suggestion would be to do your research and book early as possible, because those sites will fill up. If you don't mind camping at like a KOA, if you don't mind camping in like a parking lot, you can book up a little bit closer to when you're leaving. But if you want to stay in a really nice rustic campground with trees that does not look like a parking lot, look at state parks, national parks, also public campgrounds. Hip Camp is another a website with, you know, personal lands that people.
Yeah, they've got an app also. Hip Camp app.
Now I'm sure personally used Hip Camp for making reservations, but I've looked at some sites. They just didn't work for us. But yeah.
Now with the national parks and state parks and stuff like that, I know a lot of times they have rules and regulations against hammocks. So that's another thing that I'm sure, you know, is a big thing for people that don't have a stand or something like that. They got to check into that to make sure that they're even able to put up a hammock in the areas that they're looking for. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, if you can't find anything just by default, I always have a set of 1-inch straps. Well, everyone should have a set of 1-inch straps regardless, but I always bring a set of 2-inch straps as well, just because some state parks, I know here in Florida for a while, they had a restriction for they needed to be a 2-inch wide strap. And also sometimes those regulations, even if you see stuff out there, you just may catch a camp host or, you know, a park ranger that's in a bad attitude, or, you know, something like that. It's just having a bad day. So, and I'll kind of cover that for my last one tip, but just be prepared. Just be prepared and do your research. Do your research.
Yep.
All right. My second tip that I have for these trips is ask other people. Ask other people. And another plug for going to these hangs and meeting people from all over the country. I'll ask, hey, you're from Wyoming. Me and Cal and Kristen, you know, they're from Wyoming. I talk to them all the time about, you know, going out west. They travel a lot out that way with shows and things like that. They are a wealth of knowledge. People in Facebook groups are a wealth of knowledge. They can give you sites. They can give you places that you may not know about that would be of great interest to you, that you may not even think about that you want to do. So ask other people. Don't just rely on, you know, Google's top places to camp in Colorado or something, because more than likely you're going to get a pay to play kind of campground, kind of paying to be in part of that list. So
right.
Ask real people. They can also give you site selections saying, hey, I've camped here. Site 18 is really great because it's got really good trees. You can ask for personal experience. Also, with knowing people from all over the country, you can usually find a backyard. If you're out of luck as far as a campground, like, hey, I'm traveling through Nashville. I know plenty of people that I can say, hey, can I park my camper? Can we stay the night? Can I surf on your couch for a little bit? And that offers the opportunity to stay somewhere where you do not have to pay for a hotel. Me personally, I used to work for the hotel industry back in college and a little in early adulthood, and I know how much it costs them to rent a room physically. So paying $150, $160, $180 for a hotel room just guts my soul. So I try not to do it as much as I can.
Yeah, I can only imagine that.
Okay, so we talked about doing your research, knowing your local laws, knowing when you can make your reservations, knowing if you plan on camping with a pet, knowing the regulations as far as, dogs and stuff, not only the campground that you're going to go to, but the places that you're planning to visit. Funny story that Cal and Kristen found that out the hard way when
that's exactly what I was thinking when you were saying that about the pets.
Cal and Kristen found that out the hard way when they met up with us in Rocky Mountain National Park. They brought Ginger along. Ginger is an ornery but sweet girl, and they were walking with her on the trail. I guess Rocky Mountain National Park does not allow animals.
And they did not know that. That
not allow dogs. And I guess they got chewed out by, some couple because they had actually hiked in from outside the park in. And so that was not a good experience for them. So I would just say know the area, know where you're going to go, and make sure they are pet friendly, unless you're going to leave your pet back at the campground or something along those lines. There's always little things that you might not think about when you go out and it's like, oh, that's the case. I hadn't thought about that. Also, check reviews, people. Check reviews. Sometimes I take reviews with a grain of salt, but if I read reviews that 8 or 9 people say the same thing, like the camp host is crazy and this, that, and the other, there's probably some credence to that.
Every once in a while, you get that one person that likes to complain about everything. But whenever you see the same, same thing from multiple people, there might be a little bit of truth to it.
Yeah, I remember we were still looking at a particular place in Colorado Springs as our last stop for this summer's trip, and one of the campgrounds that we were looking at, there's like 8 or 9 people that was like, the camp host here is crazy. and the reviews are like over years. So it's not just the isolated incidents. No, it's a perpetual state of insanity that people have experienced there. So I don't think we're going to be staying at this one. Well, let me take a break from my list and just talk to you guys about my trip. So we are actually planning this summer, we're going to do 2 trips. We're going to do 2 very different kinds of trips. Our first trip is going to be it's a 2-week trip at the beginning of the summer. We're going to take the kids to DC and Washington, DC and go museum hopping. I want to go to a lot of the museums and the Smithsonian and kind of see that. We've been tossing around that idea for a few years, and our summer is getting crazy in the middle and we still wanted a trip. So we're going to do that at the beginning. We're going to shoot back over to Western Virginia, not West Virginia, but Western Virginia. And we're going to go back to Shenandoah National Park and see more of that.
I love the Shenandoahs. Shenandoah
it's so pretty. It is awesome. So pretty.
Yes.
And then hop down. So that's going to be our first section that we're going to do. We're staying at we don't know exactly. I think we actually did book a Airbnb for DC, and we're gonna stay at a campground somewhere in Shenandoah. We haven't booked that yet, so I don't know if we've actually missed that window, because that one does book all those campgrounds in Shenandoah National Park. They book up pretty quickly. We ended up at a KOA last time, and it was kind of odd because the KOA, as far as the crow flies, is very close to your entrance to the park.
Okay.
But as far as the roads and connecting stuff, it was like a 45-minute to an hour and a half drive from the campground to inside the park.
Oh, wow.
Where you can get to the trails and stuff. And so we said, oh, well, no, we're not doing that again. So we're going to find a different spot. So we're still nailing down some details of that. The second half of our trip, I had mentioned that, we're going to be looking at Colorado Springs. So my brother-in-law is looking at going out west again. And he has offered to hike a 14er, which is a mountain peak that is above 14,000 feet out west, and said that he would hike with my wife. And she's still, I wouldn't say little, she's still very bitter about her back knocking her out of her trip this past summer. So she said, oh, I totally want to do this. And anytime I get to go out to Colorado, I am going to jump on the bandwagon, just because I love that state. I never think I'd have a state that I love more than Virginia, but Colorado may be up there. So we are actually going to go out to, I knew I'd forget it. The Telluride, I think it's Telluride area out there in Colorado. And we're going to stay there, and we're going to stay at Gunnison State Park, which is just northeast of that. And then we're going to come back down, and we're going to stay a couple nights in Twin Lakes, just because that was incredibly beautiful out there the last time that we went. And we're going to come back, and we're going to stop for a couple days in Colorado Springs, see Pikes Peak. My wife wants to do the Manitou Incline as well. She wants us to do the same hike at Garden of the Gods that threw out her back. Yeah, she's not still bitter at all. So we're gonna be doing that. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, and that's gonna be a 2.5 week trip. So I think as a total we'll be gone for 4.5 weeks, but we're just doing in 2 sections versus just one.
Okay. And you've already got the locations and everything planned out of where y'all are going to stay for those?
Yeah, for the Colorado thing, we have all of our sites going out there, and everything into we don't have anything in Colorado Springs yet.
Okay.
Because we want to stay at a particular campground, but they haven't opened up because they only open up from like May on, just because their season is so drastically different than ours. And also they are transitioning to a new reservation system, so it's not allowing us to make a reservation. So we're kind of stuck right now about making the reservations in Colorado Springs, but we got some other options there if that one just doesn't happen to work out. We stayed at this particular campground. It's called Lone Duck, and it's just northwest of Colorado Springs, near Pikes Peak. And we stayed there the very, very first time that we went out to Colorado, which was about 5 or 6 years ago. And we really, really liked it. 100 times better than the KOA in Colorado Springs that I was not a huge fan of, but it worked out. So we want to go back to that one.
Okay.
Coming back, we'll probably just hop to KOAs just because they're easy to book. We get a discount because we're part of the KOA members or whatever. And plus, we've got a lot of points that we can use from our last trip.
That's that Good Sam. Is that the Good Sam program?
No, it's I think KOA has their actual.
Do they have their own?
They have their own.
Okay.
But yeah,
I think I'm part of it as well. But for some reason, I've seen it's a Good Sam. I could be wrong. I don't know.
So another tip that I would say is, and sometimes this can be a crapshoot, is especially if you're looking at hammocking, know what your campsite looks like before you reserve it. A lot of the stuff on recreation.gov, they have like a quick photo of the campsite that'll give you kind of an idea. You can talk to other people that may have camped there. But a really great website that I've used a lot is, I think it's called campsitephotos.com. And you just go type in the campground that you're going in and the site, and there's much better. Sometimes they'll have 2 or 3 photos of each site at that campground.
I've never heard of that. I'll put that link in the show notes. So you have to give that to me.
I've used that so many times just to see, all right, well, what does the views look like? What is the tree situation?
I know a lot of times, the actual camp, when they have the photos and stuff done, a lot of the photographers and stuff will use like a fisheye photo or a fisheye lens, and it actually distorts the picture to make it look bigger than what it is. So I don't know if that's how it is with that other website that you go to, or
I think I might be completely wrong about this. I'm just kind of shooting in the dark, but I think it's kind of almost like a wiki like page. It is fully populated by people that have actually stayed there, not just. Okay. Again, I may be wrong about that, but it seems pretty legit. It has been very, very beneficial to us.
Well, that would be better because most of those people would be taking them with like their phone camera or something like that. So.
All right. So going on down my list, I come to really our last little point as far as hammocking. When in doubt, and I can't stress this enough, even if you actually don't end up using it, which if a trip like this, I would be shocked if I didn't, get a stand. Just get a stand. Yes, are really, really good ones expensive? Yeah. But you know what else is expensive? A hotel room.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the amount
I use my stand inside of a hotel room, so I mean,
yeah,
I'm paying double.
And we might do an issue or an episode on just the benefits of stands, but I love mine. Whether you get something small and compact like a YOBO Freedom stand, or a Tensa Solo, or trekking trees, those are really nice. Or if you want to go big, get something like the YOBO Hive, or the Cricket, or a Tensa 4. I've used all of those, and the fact that I know without a shadow of a doubt that no matter what the campsite looks like, even if it's a gravel parking lot that has a KOA sign on it, I can hang in my hammock, and I don't have to worry about it. Yes, if I come to a campsite, these 2 trees are perfectly placed. That's wonderful. That is just a happy surprise. But I know without a shadow of a doubt, I can lay in my hammock. I know how I'm going to sleep, and I'm good to go. That stand offers me that peace of mind that no matter what, I can be swinging between 2 points. It might not be trees, but I can be swinging between 2 points.
You're still going to be off that ground.
I'm still going to be off that ground. And, we've got, a 4-inch or a 3-inch memory foam topper on our pop-up and stuff like that. But shoot, give me my hammock. Give me my hammock. So that's really all that I had for like tips and tricks. If you have any other questions or things like that, not just about my trip, but if you have questions on like planning your trip, I'd be more than happy to help anybody looking for a trip to just in-state, or if you're looking to really go big or go home and do like a cross-country excursion like we do every year. I'd love to talk to you. Love to share some of the knowledge that I have that may be a little bit more specific to your needs and your camping situation. Feel free to reach out to us at the Hammock Hangers Podcast, or send us a message through our HangCon Facebook group. And I'll be more than welcome to answer any type of questions, no matter how random, no matter how minuscule they are.
Yep. I do want to ask you a question real quick.
Sure.
Because I know, when you go on these trips, you take a lot of your hammock gear stuff with you. And I know you've already said that, which you should have it by then, is the hopes anyhow. The Hive Stand, which that's still on Kickstarter right now. I'm actually looking at it now. There's still 22 days to go on that. So if anybody's looking for a stand and want to get in on a good deal on a good stand, that is going on Kickstarter right now for the Hive hammock stand, which that one there can actually hold 2 hammocks side by side.
I'm really excited about it.
Plus your bridge hammocks.
I'm really excited about the Hive.
So you got 22 days left on that. Now, with that said, I know as long as that, was in by then, you're going to take that with you. What other gear? Because I know you, AJ. Oh.
All right. So
I'm sure there's other gear that you have purchased that will be going with you. So what other gear do you have that will be going with you?
So, since we're only going in like 2-week increments, I'm really going to dial down what gear that I say that I'm taking. Now I say that now, but in reality, it might not be the case, because I always have the aspiration that, my kids are going to hang with me, but they never do. And whatever.
No, I think what it is you want to take most of your gear with you. That way, if your wife gets aggravated and she ends up leaving you, you're still going to have most of your gear.
I've paid a small fortune to live like a homeless person. So
haven't we all?
Right. So what I'll end up taking, if for some reason I do not have my Hive, because for the first part of the trip, the DC part, I probably will not have my Hive. So I will take both my Tensa 4 and my Cricut stand. Okay. Now, you may ask, why am I taking 2 stands? They both serve kind of different purpose. I love the Cricut stand for the ability to move around. So the Cricut stand really lives in my truck. Even when I'm not camping, it lives in my truck. Just so I can set it up quick. I can move it around, whatever I need to do. It lives in my truck.
Same with me.
If we are going somewhere like where we are setting up as a base camp, that I'm going to leave my gear set up and things like that, I set up my Tensa just because I can anchor it down and I still have the ability to take my Cricut and move it around and, set up for lunch when we're out on a day hike or something like that. Okay. So yes, I end up taking both stands. Now, with taking both stands, and I'm going to say this with the expectation, hopefully I will have my Hive, but if in case that I don't, the hammock that I will be taking this year, more than likely for my base camp setup, is I'm going to be taking my Superior Gear 45 degree insulated hammock, just because it's just one piece of gear that I don't have to worry about a quilt. And it's nice and small that I can use on the Cricut stand or the Tensa stand. For my tarp, it's a tarp that I can use on my Tensa really easy, is my 11-foot Thunderfly from Warbonnet Outdoors. Okay. I find that particular tarp and that particular cut is probably best suited for the Tensa 4 stand. Out of all my tarps, that is my favorite one, because I can set it up on the Tensa without the tarp extensions. I will also probably be taking my big 12-foot rectangular hang-con tarp that I can set up on my YOBO Cricut stand. If I want something with a little bit more coverage, or if I know I'm going to be somewhere for a while.
Okay.
Now, I may also bring a 20-degree set. I think even in July, I don't know if we're going to be getting past the point that 45-degree Superior Gear hammock will not be enough. That may change as we look at temperatures as we're planning and before we leave. But I'll probably be taking a 20-degree or 40-degree top quilt If I end up taking a 20-degree underquilt, it'll be my Jacks Are Better Hudson River. And my top quilt I'll probably be taking with probably my hammock gear 20-degree that I have. Really like their stuff. I love my Jacks Are Better quilt. So I'll stay roasty, toasty, warm in my cloud of downy goodness any night. So I'll talk about stands. I'll talk about hammock. I'll talk about tarp. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, and I'll definitely be bringing my my ground mat from Walhalla Outdoors.
Is it the orange one?
Probably.
It's probably mine.
The one that I bought.
No, it's probably
one
mine.
That is mine.
I think that one's mine. So I cannot find mine anywhere. When you got the Hive, did you get any of the extras?
I didn't.
Any of the add-ons?
I didn't yet.
Okay.
I can still add some on.
Yeah, I know you can add on all the way up until right before the Kickstarter ends, can't you?
Yes. Yes, you can. I just didn't see anything in there that I absolutely had to have other than the Hive. Than the Hive. I really want the Hive, if nothing else, that it's a stand that I can, without modifying anything greatly, I can hang my bridge hammocks on. So that's the main reason that I went for the Hive.
Now, is your wife going to hang in it with you, since it can hold two people?
That's what I'm telling myself. The reality of that may be very different, but that's what I'm telling myself, that it's going to happen.
If nothing else, you can get have you and both your kids out there, because I hold 3 hammocks. We done that at HangCon. And
my daughter is significantly smaller than Cal is, so
yeah. Just don't have her. Make sure she don't try and stand up and surf on it.
Yeah, there's that. There's that. No, really excited about that. And I really hope that I'm able to get the Hive stand, especially for the second half of the trip. So,
well, I know that's their plan, to have them out. I forget the actual dates. They have it on their YOBO neighborhood Facebook page. The breakdown of how the Kickstarter works and the dates and all that stuff. And with them already having like the manufacturers and stuff like that lined up and everything, it's going to be a lot quicker than some of these new products that you see coming out that don't have any of that stuff set up already.
Yeah, Cal has done a really great job of setting those steps in place. So as soon as the money
getting them in place before they even started the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So
this is not their first rodeo.
No.
So exactly. I've been a part of some really great Kickstarters, and I've been some part of some really crappy ones too.
Right.
And the people that have their stuff together, like Derek from Haven, I was a part of the Safari Kickstarter, had no problems at all with that.
Right.
And I don't expect any problems at all with YOBO gear as well. So if that's something that you may feel hesitant about with it being a Kickstarter, don't. YOBO gear has their act together. They're great people, and they will bend over backwards for their customers.
Right. So. All right. So is that about wrap it up with everything you got, AJ, or were there any more tips or anything like that, or any other gear that you're holding out on because you don't want me to know that you got, or
no, just backing the Hive stand. That was a wild ride. I was very lucky. I got on as soon as it was listed, and it's put in my information as fast as I could. And
that's super early. I was sitting there watching it. That super early tier was done in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
and then they were fully. They made their pledge. They met their pledge goal in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think it may have taken me a total of 30 seconds to get on, because I was like boom, 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 and I still was number 17,
right?
Of 20.
And it's funny because I know it is expensive. you hear that from a lot of people. But here's the thing, okay? And this is kind of my opinion on it. I've seen some people that I think there's one person out there that pretty much has a hard on for YOBO gear or something, because every freaking post that they make, he wants to make a comment about it. And I know this guy he don't own one. He's never even tried one, but he wants to try and bash them any chance they get. Here's the thing. If, like I said, the first tier was done in 2 minutes and they met their pledge goal in 5 minutes. Okay. And I think they're already up to almost like 600% of their goal made. With that being said, that should tell anybody, what type of gear this stuff is. Because everybody that was waiting already had either the Cricket or the Freedom stands, or both. And so they knew the quality, they knew the reputation of YOBO gear and everything else. And that's why it went as fast as it did.
And I think another thing that it's important for people to realize, if you are financially able to do that, one of the things that YOBO and a lot of the vendors that they have products coming from on their add-ons, they are cottage industry vendors that really, really go above and beyond of supporting the community
absolutely
as a whole.
Yes.
And really that's where I want to spend my money.
Right.
For those that, donate to the raffles that they have at the hangs of Maha and Palmetto State and of course HangCon, you support my community, I'm going to support you as well.
Right.
And YOBO has done an amazing job with that, as well as Jacks Are Better, Dutch, Walhalla Hammocks, and a lot of those other vendors.
Right. A lot of outdoor gear and I mean, a bunch of them.
Yeah. I have no problem spending a little bit
something else that,
support those guys.
With like with me, whenever I got the Cricket stand, I didn't have, the full amount to be able to just boom, plop that much, into a stand. So if you look on their website, you can go through that Affirm and actually have that payment broke down into, it's either like 4 or 6 monthly payments.
Yeah, I think PayPal credit offers something very similar to that.
I mean, there's things that can be done so you don't have to come up with the whole amount, right off. But anyhow, yeah. So that was kind of a rant from me that just kind of hit me a minute ago about that guy talking a lot of crap about stuff that he don't know, which I invited him onto the podcast to, talk about it, and that way he could explain, his thoughts of why he wants to do that, but he hadn't responded back to me yet. I'm disappointed. But so anyhow, is there anything else you got, AJ?
No, that'll be it, Paul.
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to my trip. And like I said, if any of you want to hear more, just let me know. And I usually do a lot of posts on my Instagram. It's really the only time I use my Instagram is during our summer trips. And a lot of people follow based on that. So
well, you post on HangCons also.
Yes.
As well. So. And
HangCon
so they can
gets my hammock specific pictures, but I have a lot of other pictures on my personal Instagram. So
if anybody wants to get in touch with you, they can either message you, through Facebook or whatever, or they can send me a message at Skunkape at thehammockhangerspodcast.com, and I can relay that message to you, and you can get in touch with them, whatever.
That sounds like a plan.
So, all right, then. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and just ask everybody that if you're enjoying the Hammock Hangers podcast and you want to help us grow, make sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or any other platform that you're listening from. You can also go to the Hiking Radio Network website, click on the Hammock Hangers podcast page, and leave a review there. Also, make sure to follow the Hammock Hangers podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And also share, with your friends and family as well to help spread the word and, help us grow. So until next week, happy hanging, everybody.